Thank you. Items related to human services. Councillor Miles, you chair this portion. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I do believe that we're going to have a presentation this morning or this afternoon. So this is the Region of Peel Early Learning and Childcare Funding Policy Framework, and I will let the speakers introduce themselves. I know, Siobhan.
Sorry. Just getting composed here. Hi, my name is Siobhan Kelly-Davids, and with me today is Terence Ballyrum. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about a proposed new early learning and childcare funding and policy framework that is the subject of the Council report before you. This new framework represents an important step forward in building upon the significant progress to date in strengthening Peel's early learning and childcare system. Attached as an appendix in your report is a copy of the System Transformation in Peel 2010 to 2014 overview, which provides a good summary of the evolution of the system change over recent years. This slide highlights some of the main drivers of this transformation, including full-day kindergarten and a new 2013 provincial funding approach. As highlighted here, the region, together with our community partners, has made tremendous strides in strengthening the system since 2012. This was made possible through the reinvestment from the region's withdrawal from direct delivery of childcare and increased funding and local flexibility from the province. Of particular note is that for 2 years now, we have not had a wait list for childcare fee subsidy. Peel's licensed childcare system is made up of a diverse mix of childcare providers, including non-profit and for-profit agencies. Today, there are 34,000 licensed childcare spaces in Peel, which is a 29% increase since 2012. The majority of this growth has come from the increase in extended day programs for 4- and 5-year-olds as part of the rollout of full-day kindergarten. This slide shows the breakdown of licensed spaces for the 0 to 3.8 in school age groupings. As you can see from the purple section, the majority of spaces for school age mainly operated by non-profit providers. And as we can see in the blue area, for-profit operators own the largest portion of spaces for the younger age cohort. What this slide also shows us is that comparatively, there are fewer spaces available for younger age children as the cost of serving this age group is higher. In the slides to follow, we'll take a closer look at some of the proposed policy and funding recommendations in the report. The input we received from our system partners to inform the new framework was invaluable to the process. Our engagement approach included broad community consultation sessions, key informant interviews, and the establishment of a small provider reference group made up of operators who reflect Peel's diverse licensed childcare community. This next slide provides an overview of the new framework, which includes 3 core components. The first is stabilizing the early learning and childcare system through a new general operating fund. Second is enhancing funding accountability through quality and inclusion practices. And third is increasing parental choice and access by repealing a 2009 resolution, which prevents the region from entering into fee subsidy agreements with for-profit providers. At this point, I'll now hand things over to Terence to walk through the new general operating model.
Thank you, Siobhan. The province introduced a new population-based childcare formula in 2013, which provided service managers with increased local flexibility and required them to develop a new general operating model that replaces historic wage allocations. The purpose of this new general operating model is to stabilize the system through the areas as outlined on the slide. Our new general operating fund combines historic wage allocations and an interim grant into one integrated fund. This interim grant was provided to non-profit providers between 2013 to 2015 to help stabilize their operations from the impact of full-day kindergarten. Going forward, this new model will protect historic wage subsidies and existing providers and prioritize other funds for the younger age group and non-profit operators. Next slide. This slide illustrates the potential impact of a new model. It is based on an example of a large non-profit provider with a younger age group mix that includes 16 infants, 40 toddlers, 32 preschoolers, and 16 school age. Moving from left to right, in 2012, this provider qualified for just under $213,000 in wage subsidies. Between 2013 and 2015, this provider received an additional $111,000 through an interim grant. Moving on to the third bar, because of the new general operating model combined with interim grant with historic wage funding, and the same provider could qualify for an additional $119,000 when compared to 2012. This increase is driven by the younger age children being served by the provider and the fact that they are a non-profit organization. And we include the last bar on your far right to show how the model supports providers when they further increase spaces for the younger age group. Therefore, if the provider increased their infant spaces by 6 more children and toddler spaces by another 10 children, they could qualify for an additional $168,000 in general operating fund. Next slide. This slide shows an example of a large for-profit provider, also with a younger age group mix, comprising 16 infants, 35 toddlers, 48 preschoolers, and 20 school-age children. Since it is a for-profit organization, it did not receive the interim grant. Moving from left to right, throughout 2013 to 2015, this provider received only wage subsidies of $153,000. Under the new 2016 general operating model, this provider has the potential to qualify for $248,000 without increasing their spaces because they are already serving the younger age groups. If the provider further increases their younger age group spaces by 6 infants and 10 toddlers, they could qualify for an additional $288,000 in general operating fund. This is an increase of $134,000 over previous funding. I now hand the presentation back to Siobhan for the final slides.
Thank you, Terrence. We heard from the community that increasing parental choice and access is an important outcome guided by the notion of placing a family and child at the center. The resolution that was passed in 2009, driven by concerns over quality of for-profit centers and potential privatization of childcare, prevents the region from entering into fee subsidy agreements with for-profit providers. This resolution has had the unintended consequence of limiting access to families in receipt of subsidy, particularly in some high-growth communities. By repealing the resolution, up to 5,600 spaces currently operated by 87 for-profit providers could become accessible to eligible families. Of these spaces, 85% of them are for the younger age group, which is where we tend to have the greatest need based on available supply. And we know that much has changed since the resolution was passed through greater provincial and local enhancements to support quality. Here we have a snapshot of a high-growth area in Peel where access to subsidized childcare is quite limited, as seen by the green dots, which represent centres which offer fee subsidy, and the red dots are those that do not. We can also see on this slide the black markings on the green area, which reflect residential building permits issued in 2014, indicating increased growth is taking place. By repealing the resolution, the impact to this community will be opening up access to up to 10 licensed childcare sites for eligible families. In closing, we have much to look forward to as we implement the new funding and policy framework for Peel's early years system. To that end, we'll continue to engage our community partners as we move forward on this transformational journey, and we'll monitor the impacts of the proposed changes. Thank you for your time today.
Good. Thank you very much for your presentation. Questions, Mayor Thompson?
Yeah, I have to say thank you. You know, I think you're being very progressive. It's good to see. And if we want all our child care to be able to raise the bar and do the things, we've got to treat everybody equally. And I think this is a very good news story. And I want to congratulate both of you, everybody here for doing this. I think this is a good, and it goes to show just the capacity that Peel has in seeing the opportunity and making this happen. Because it's all about our future here. So thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Thompson, would you mind moving the recommendation?
Love to.
Okay, that's been moved by Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Palache. All in favor? That's carried. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Brings us to items related to enterprise programs and services to be chaired by Councillor